Hey crafty friends, Christina here from Sunny Day Memories. So for the month of July, we are going to be doing a new project concept for our crafty copycat creations that I do with my sister-in-law, Barb. We are going to be taking tags this month and using them in creative ways since many crafters start thinking about the holidays in July. And so we thought this would be a fun time to look at tags differently other than just making them to put on your presents this year. So today I'm going to show you how you can use 2 tags to go ahead and create a fun little treat box that I've done here for the holidays. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to start with the base of the box. I am using a 6x6 piece of real red, and we're going to go ahead and score it at 2 inches all the way around. Just wanted to point out I am using the two-tone, so it is the true color on the one side and the lighter shade on the back side. So that way with the box you get kind of both shades to enjoy both those color tones if you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in my paper trimmer here, and I'm going to use the lighter gray blade, which is the scoring blade, and I'm going to go around at 2 inches all the way around. Okay, so what I've been doing, and this is something I recommend anytime you're doing boxes, just to kind of help keep the bulk down, I'm going ahead and I'm cutting along that 2-inch scoring line, and then I'm mitering the corners here to create little tabs on the outer corners. And what that does is, like I said, it just kind of cuts down on the bulk when we're going to go ahead and fold them in. So you're going to do all 4 corners this way. So you can see I've got all 4 of them, and they have kind of just that little triangle cut out. And then we're going to go ahead and fold on the score lines here. And so what you're going to do then is you're going to go ahead and you're going to take those 2 outer tabs that we mitered the corners on, and you're going to bring those inward, gluing them together, gluing that straight edge centered panel to the outside so it gives a nice polished finished look to it. So you'll do that with the one side, and then you'll flip it over and you'll do it on the other side, and that will create the base of the box that we're going to create. And you can either use something strong like the tear and tape so that it'll be an instant hold, or you can use a liquid tape, or sorry, not tape, a liquid glue here like this Tombow. Okay, so you can see here that I've gone ahead and I've used the liquid adhesive and I've put it on the 2 outer panels. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the right panel, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's flush up to that edge, to that score line, just so it has a nice look to it. And then I'm going to go ahead and tuck this left panel behind that one, again going ahead and making sure that it's flush up against that score line. And so now you can see you've got the base, the structure here of your box all nice. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some of the decorative elements before we use the tag. So for that, we're going to go ahead and get some gold foil and some of the stitched, what's called stitch season, I think. So we've got the gold foil, we've got 2 pieces that are 1 7/8 by 1 7/8. And then we've got 2 of the stitch season, which measure 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. So all I'm going to do then is going to go ahead and glue those together. So there's just a tiny little border around the edge with that gold. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue those onto my box. And I'm actually going to go ahead and glue those to the 2 that don't have those panels that were glued in, because that to me helps make that a little sturdier by adding this extra weight to those edges here, since this already has 3 layers where we brought those panels inward. Okay, so I've got those glued on. So the next part now is to go ahead and create those tags, which are going to be the side of our box. So you could, if you had some fancy looking tag dies, you could go ahead and cut those out. But I wanted this to be something that anyone could create, even if you didn't have any dies to cut out your tags. So I am using 2 pieces of 2x5 real red. Again, this is the 2-tone, so it's lighter on the one side with the true color on the other side. So these 2 have been scored at 3 inches and again at 3.5. And then what we're going to do is we are going to create little cutouts here at the top portion to create that tag appearance. And so there's a couple different ways that you can do that. You could just go ahead and freehand cut an angle away from your cardstock, and then you'd simply take that little corner triangle that you've cut out and you'd flip it over, line it up with your left hand side, and then go ahead and cut, sort of using that as a template for your second one so that the 2 angles are the same. Or if you want to be very precise, you can go ahead and grab your paper trimmer or a ruler and a pencil. And so what you would do is, I did a 1/2 inch on mine. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put a little tick mark at 1/2 inch, and then 1/2 inch here from the left-hand side. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate my piece so that I can, again, do a 1/2 inch mark. And so let's see, 1, 2, this is my 1/2 inch. So hopefully you can kind of see you've got 2 marks up here that are 1/2 inch. Looks kind of blurry. And then a 1/2 inch down on each side. So then all I have to do is go ahead and line up the top mark with a side mark and my little cutter groove here. And then I go ahead and cut that out, and that will give me the angle that's also the same as on the left-hand side. So I just repeat that same pattern where I use that tick mark at the top and the tick mark on the side, line those up, go ahead and cut that away, and then now I've got a balanced tag here. Okay, so you'll do that with your second one so that the 2 of them are equal. So like I said, you can either go ahead and cut it freehand and then use that piece as a template on the other side and then do that for your second tag, or you can do like I just showed you and add little pencil marks and then cut it away with your paper trimmer. So I've got both of my tags cut out. I've got them with the 2 score lines. So now I'm gonna go ahead and decorate them a little bit here before we go ahead and glue it on. So I wanted to follow that same kind of pattern that we did before where we have the slight little gold foil behind another piece. And so I am using a piece of the new Peaceful Pine. So they measure, there's 2 of them, they measure 1 3/4 wide by 2 3/4 tall. And then I have the gold foil, which again are 2 pieces that are 1 7/8 wide by 2 7/8 inch long. And then I'm gonna go ahead and at the same time I can go ahead and insert these 2 into an embossing folder to get a little bit of texture to my paper. So you could use whatever embossing folder you have. I wanted to use something that's just very subtle, and so that it doesn't stand out too much, just to give it a little bit of depth and texture. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this through my die cutting and embossing machine, and then we'll go ahead and glue it onto the gold. Okay, so I went ahead, like I said, and I glued that embossed piece to the gold, and then I glued it to the lower panel of that real red tag. And then while I was gluing, I did the same thing. I wanted to make the project consistent, so I used that Stitch Season with the gold foil again. So the you'll need 2 pieces of the Stitch Season in 3/4 by 3/4, and then 2 of the gold foil in 7/8 by 7/8. And then as you can see, I went ahead and I glued it flush up to that top edge of the tag. So that way, like I said, it ties in the side panels there. Okay, after I've glued those on there, you can see I went ahead and punched a hole here. It's a 1/4 inch hole punch. You could use whatever size you have. I wanted it to be a little bit bigger so that my ribbon would fit easily through it. And then I'm just kind of centering, and keep in mind that you are going through 3 layers of paper, so it will be a little bit tougher to go ahead and punch that. And then it'll work easier for you if you go ahead and do your folds. You're gonna have a mountain, and then you're gonna have a valley. So those are ready in the position you want them. And then I recommend putting the adhesive onto your actual box so that it doesn't go beyond the box or anywhere you don't want it. And then you're gonna go ahead and layer this on there so that it's flush to the 3 sides. So the 2 sides here and the bottom portion. So by using some liquid glue, you have that wiggle time to go ahead and move it around. It doesn't adhere right away, just giving you a little bit of extra time to futz with it however you need. So then you can go ahead and fill it up. You could put some crinkle paper in there and then some candies or a gift. And then you're gonna go ahead, and I took, I think this ribbon is retired now, but I liked that it had that gold speckles in it, so it kind of tied together with the gold. 16 inches of ribbon. It's longer than what you'll actually need, but it will give you enough extra room, an extra slack to go ahead and tie your bow how you want it to be, and then you can trim the ends. So I went ahead and I just put it through the 2 holes, and then I got the 2 ribbon ends equal, so then I can just do a basic loop here, and I have it come forward in the front, and then I lay it down like that. So then I can go ahead and tie the bow in the front, so the bow isn't sitting on top of the box there, so it's not on the seam up there, it's more in the front facing you. And then, like I said, you can go ahead and trim the ends how you want them. So I left my box just like this. I thought with all the gold and the ribbon that was all it needed. I might decide to add a sentiment or something. You could do that, or add some images onto the front or back of it. But like I said, I was really happy with how just that gold foil tying in with the ribbon and everything just made it look very nice. A great way to go ahead and package up something. And it's great that it goes ahead and uses 2 tag. So you might not have thought to do that. So hopefully that's something new for you that you could do with your tags as you're starting any holiday crafting. Um, we'd love for you to share your take on this idea in our public Facebook group, The Crafty Copycat Creations. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss future videos. And until next time, stay crafty.